After we announced my pregnancy, my exes plan to humiliate me at my husband's party backfired, landing her in jail and a divorce. After we told everyone I was pregnant, my sister-in-law's little scheme to embarrass me at my husband's party completely blew up in her face. It ended with her getting arrested and her marriage falling apart. I'm 29 now, and I'd been married to Harry for 7 years. Our marriage is everything I could have hoped for, except for one thing, his sister, Kayla. She's been a storm cloud hanging over us since day one. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually liked Kayla when we first met. Thought she was great, even. But that didn't last long. The more time I spent around her, the more I realized she was toxic. Manipulative. Negative to the core. Knowing the kind of person she is, I tried for years to stay on her good side. I went out of my way to be kind, even when she didn't deserve it. Back when Harry was 17, he dated the best friend of Kayla's. He broke it off because he felt pressured into it by Kayla. Then, years later, when he was 23 and single, she tried setting him up with yet another one of her friends. He turned that down too. She threw a fit and ran to their parents, crying about how Harry should end up with someone she personally approved of. But even their parents didn't entertain that mess. They barely acknowledged her tantrum. Meanwhile, Harry and I were just getting to know each other, falling in love, and thankfully, his parents were super supportive. Kayla, though? She treated me like I was some kind of threat from day one. Whenever I was around, she'd bring up Harry's exes out of nowhere. Talking about how well they were doing, dropping hints that he should reach out to them. It was awkward and unnecessary. This went on for a while. Even Harry found it weird and kept telling her to knock it off with the ex talk. I wasn't the only one uncomfortable with it. But instead of stopping, she'd get all defensive and start taking jabs at me. Saying I was insecure, that Harry deserved better, that I was dragging him down. She even started showing up to family dinners with his exes, claimed she just ran into them and had to invite them out of politeness. Yeah, right. She doesn't follow me on Instagram, but she's always lurking. I have a public account, and she's always the first one to watch my stories. If a guy comments on one of my pictures, she runs straight to Harry, complaining that I'm posting inappropriate photos. Honestly, Harry and I would just laugh at how ridiculous it was. When Harry and I decided to move in together, she tried to convince him to dump me. Said I had too many flaws and she could find someone way better for him. That one stung, because I'd done nothing but be nice to her. Things got even worse once we got engaged. When we made the announcement, everyone was cheering and excited, except Kayla. She stayed quiet the whole time, then suddenly got up and stormed out. Later, she called Harry in tears, screaming about how hurt she was that we hadn't told her first, since she considered herself the most important woman in his life. She also sent me this wild message, basically warning me about how I should treat her brother, as if she was his girlfriend or something. It gave me the creeps. I didn't even respond. Just left it on read, and I know that probably made her even madder. From that point on, Kayla started completely ignoring me. Still, for some reason, she stayed involved in all the wedding planning. She came dress shopping, was at my bridal shower, everything. But she never had a nice word to say. She constantly criticized every choice I made for the wedding, even though both my future mother-in-law and Harry called her out on it more than once. One day, she overheard me talking about centerpieces with Harry's mom and jumped right in to insult my taste. Said my choice was tacky and that this was exactly why she didn't want her brother marrying me. That was it. I'd had enough. I snapped. I told her, flat out, that she was no longer welcome at the wedding. I shouted that I was done with her insults and couldn't stand her anymore. She stood there, stunned like she couldn't believe someone finally put her in her place. Even my mother-in-law was furious at her and stood up for me. Later, Kayla called Harry, whining about how I humiliated her and saying he needed to control me since I was going to be his wife. But Harry backed me all the way. Told her if she didn't apologize, she wouldn't be invited. So, she sent me a text that sounded somewhat sincere, but I ignored it. I was way too stressed planning the wedding to get pulled into more drama. I let her come in the end, just so she couldn't say I kept her out. Everyone else followed the pastel pink color scheme I'd picked out without an issue, but not Kayla. She showed up looking like she was going to a funeral. Full-length black dress, veil and all. It was shocking, honestly. She went around the reception acting like she was mourning the loss of her brother, whispering to people about how sad she was that he'd married me. Harry eventually had enough and asked her what was going on. She played the victim, said I was controlling and she had the right to wear whatever she wanted. She wouldn't stop creating scenes, so eventually my in-laws stepped in and told her to leave. It was humiliating, for everyone. After that, I cut her off completely. When I had our son Nate, I made it clear I didn't want Kayla anywhere near him. She fought back, but my in-laws backed me up. They knew why I didn't want her around my baby. 2 years ago, Kayla lost a baby with her boyfriend, Jamie. It was heartbreaking, even with everything that had happened between us. We truly felt for her. So, Harry and I softened a bit. We started letting her come around, thinking maybe she could form a bond with Nate. To my surprise, she was actually sweet to him. At first, it seemed like she changed. But that didn't last long. Eventually, she went right back to being the same old Kayla. Always talking about how hard her life is, blaming everyone else, old friends, old bosses, for everything going wrong. Over time, I realized something. In her world, she's never the one at fault. Kayla always plays the victim like it's second nature, trying to get people to feel sorry for her while barely taking any blame in a disagreement. This year, she decided to get married and sent invitations to practically everyone, except us. Given that things had seemed to smooth over between us, Harry was genuinely caught off guard when we weren't included. When we asked her why, she flat out told us I wasn't welcome because she thought I'd cause a scene at her wedding. I was shocked. I hadn't done anything to her. So I called and asked what made her think I'd do something like that. That's when Kayla admitted she wore black to my wedding on purpose, and now she was afraid I'd return the favor at hers. That's the reason she didn't want me there. I was furious and told Harry straight up. This was pure manipulation on her part. He talked it over with his parents, and after hearing everything, Harry decided to let her know that not only would we be skipping the wedding, but his parents wouldn't be footing the bill either. That sent Kayla into full-blown meltdown mode. She cried and blamed me for ruining her big day. Her fiancé, Jamie, stepped in and told her she had no business blaming me, especially after she admitted she was the one in the wrong. But Kayla tried to spin it. She said I should just let it go since our wedding was in the past. A few days later, she called to apologize and asked for forgiveness, mostly because her mom and dad still weren't offering to help with the wedding. And to be honest, when Kayla wants something, she can turn on the charm and be pretty convincing. I decided to just move forward and forgive her. I didn't want to hold on to old drama. Her wedding to Jamie went off without a hitch. We all attended, had a good time, and it finally felt like the past was behind us. But not even 6 months later, Kayla showed up at our doorstep complaining about her marriage falling apart. Harry and I let her crash with us for a few days. She'd spend hours unloading about how terrible Jamie was and how everything was his fault. They were having trouble getting pregnant, and Kayla made it clear she blamed Jamie for that too. When I tried to talk to her about it, she insisted the problem was entirely his fault. If she wasn't venting about him, she was nitpicking our lives and making up issues out of nowhere. For example, I usually go to the gym in the mornings before work. On days I'm running late, I pack my work clothes so I can shower at the gym, change, and head straight to the office. Kayla noticed this and started asking a bunch of weird questions. Why was I showering outside the house? Why did I need to work out so often? I didn't think much of it. I told her I like staying in shape and prefer not to show up at work sweaty. She just nodded slowly and licked her lips in this strange way. One afternoon, during lunch, my mother-in-law started talking about a friend of hers who had just divorced her husband after catching him cheating, and taking half his assets. Out of nowhere, Kayla cut her off and turned to Harry, asking if he and I had signed a prenup before getting married. The whole table went silent. We literally stopped mid-bite and stared at her. She looked right at Harry, acting like I wasn't even sitting there. Harry calmly told her that we didn't see the need for a prenup. We both make decent money and trust each other. That wasn't good enough for Kayla. She snorted and said he could be blindsided at any moment, because cheating is everywhere these days. That hit a nerve. I asked her directly what she was trying to say. Then she flat out accused me of seeing someone else. Said I always had a change of clothes on me and that, as Harry's sister, it was her duty to warn him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was completely blindsided. Right then, my in-laws walked in and stepped between us before she could spiral further. They told her she had no business meddling in our marriage. But Kayla didn't back down. She kept pushing, saying she was just protecting her brother. Then she had the nerve to joke about our son, Nate, not even sure he was Harry's because he doesn't really look like him. I swear, I've never seen my husband so furious. His whole face turned red. He looked her dead in the eye and told her she didn't deserve to be a mother. He said her child was better off in heaven than being raised by someone like her. Kayla looked completely stunned, mouth hanging open. My in-laws stood there in total silence while Harry tore into her. He told her she was nothing but a miserable person trying to drag everyone down because her life was empty. He said she did nothing all day while Jamie worked himself to death, and that instead of poking into our lives, she should be focusing on fixing her own marriage. Kayla broke down crying, and when she looked to Jamie for some kind of support, he just sat there, not saying a single word. My husband has never lost it like that. Eventually, Kayla got up and ran to the bathroom. Harry was still seething. I reached over and held his hand. My mother-in-law came over to help calm him down. I nodded when he apologized for what his sister said about our son. After everything she's put me through, I was honestly relieved to see Harry defend me so openly. After he cooled off, he apologized to Jamie, but not a word to Kayla. From that moment on, we cut her off completely. She wasn't allowed near us, and we blocked all contact. Later that day, my in-laws sat down with us. They told us Kayla had finally crossed the line. They saw what her behavior did to their son. Someone who rarely raised his voice had exploded because she just wouldn't stop. We haven't spoken to her in over a year now, and honestly, life's been smooth since. 2 months ago, I found out I was pregnant again. Totally unexpected, since we weren't even trying. Still, my husband and I felt incredibly lucky to be adding to our little family. We wanted the announcement to be special, so we decided to share the news on Harry's birthday. His parents were planning a big backyard party to celebrate him, and all our close friends and family were invited. That's when we heard that Kayla had caught wind of the event, and decided to show up. When she walked in, Harry and I were stunned. As soon as Kayla showed up, she rushed in and hugged Harry, telling him how much she missed him and how sorry she was about the last time they spoke. Harry gently took my hand and told her if she really meant it, she needed to apologize to me too, especially after everything she said about my character. She nodded, looked right at me, and said she was sorry. She explained that she'd been going to therapy for a few months now and finally realized how wrong she'd been for treating me the way she did. Even though I didn't believe half of what she said, I smiled and nodded anyway. I didn't want to make a scene in front of everybody. Since this party was to celebrate Harry, his mom and dad pulled us aside and said if we felt at all uncomfortable, they'd ask her to leave. They didn't even know she was planning to show up. But Harry didn't want to cause drama, so we decided to just let it slide. What felt strange was how cheerful Kayla acted, laughing and chatting with everyone like nothing had ever happened. She mentioned therapy, and even though it seemed a little too cheerful to be real, I figured maybe I should give her the benefit of the doubt. When it came time to cut the cake, Harry gave this heartfelt little speech about how lucky he was to have spent another year with someone like me. His words made me blush. After all these years, I still felt just as loved as I did when we first got together. Then we shared our big news with everyone, smiling. We told the group we were expecting a baby. At first, there was a pause, and then the entire yard erupted with cheers. My mom rushed over, hugging me with tears running down her cheeks. Harry's dad clapped him on the back with tears in his own eyes, and everyone started asking if we had any names picked out. You could feel the excitement in the air. Well, everyone except Kayla. She stood there frozen, her whole mood shifted in an instant. She turned away and looked irritated. At first I figured she was just taking a moment to process the news. A little part of me got nervous, wondering if she'd ruin yet another event, but people kept coming up to chat, and I got distracted. Later on, I tried to help with lunch, but Rick and my parents insisted I stay seated. They said I shouldn't be on my feet, not with a baby on the way. As I waited for Harry to bring me a plate, Kayla walked up, smiling brightly. She said she wanted to serve me herself since she was so excited about the pregnancy. She handed me a dish and even mentioned how she hoped this would help make up for all the times she'd been awful to me in the past. I thanked her, smiled politely, and she walked off. Just as I was about to dig in, I spotted something on the plate: shrimp. I'm severely allergic to shrimp. The second I saw it, my stomach dropped. I couldn't believe she'd bring me a plate with that on it. Disappointed and kind of shaken, I stood up to get my own food instead. Right then, Jamie came over to congratulate me on the baby. We chatted for a moment, and he asked why I wasn't eating. I pointed out the shrimp and said maybe Kayla had made a mistake. Jamie, being nice, told me not to worry. He said he liked shrimp anyway and offered to take the plate so I could get a fresh one. I smiled, thanked him, and turned away. Not even 5 minutes later, Jamie started coughing and gagging violently. Everyone froze and turned to look as he stumbled out of his chair. Harry and Kayla ran to him in a panic while Jamie clutched at his throat, pointing at the plate. That's when it hit us. Something was very wrong with whatever he ate. Right in front of everyone, Jamie collapsed. There was a gasp across the entire yard. Kayla rushed over to look at the plate, and the moment she saw it, her expression changed. She looked straight at me and asked if I'd given that plate to her husband. I nodded slowly. In the chaos, someone called for an ambulance, and Jamie was rushed to the hospital. All through the panic, Kayla cried nonstop. But the way she kept looking at me, it was like she was blaming me. Later at the hospital, we were told Jamie had been poisoned. The second I heard that, I nearly fainted. That food was originally meant for me. Whatever Jamie ate could have seriously harmed me, and more importantly, the baby I'm carrying. No one else, not Harry, his parents, or even my own family, knows what I know about that plate. The police showed up later to collect it as evidence since nobody knew what caused Jamie to collapse the way he did. As I write this, Jamie is still in the hospital, recovering. Kayla hasn't left his side. Harry and I have been getting non-stop calls from relatives wanting to know what happened and if anyone knows who poisoned him. My in-laws are so shaken they've decided to stay the night at our house. They said they're too scared to go home. It's unbelievable how everything turned from joyful to terrifying in the blink of an eye. The fact that the poison plate was originally handed to me makes me sick to my stomach. If this turns into a full-blown investigation, I'm going to have to tell the truth to the police. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more scared I get, not just about the food, but about what Kayla is capable of. I don't want her anywhere near me or my children ever again. She's proven she has no boundaries. I feel awful that Jamie ended up eating that meal. I keep thinking I should have just thrown the plate away. It's haunting me. Why did I let him take it? I haven't stopped crying since. Harry knows something's off. He's been hovering around me, trying to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't know the full story about his sister, and right now, he just thinks I'm shaken up. But reading all your comments, I realize I need to sit everyone down and have an honest conversation. I don't know if everyone's going to believe me, but luckily, my in-laws have security cameras set up all around their house. Since the birthday party was in their backyard, I'm pretty confident they can pull the footage and see that it was Kayla who gave me that plate. I plan to talk to everyone about it tonight, and I'll update once I do. Update 2. So we had the talk, and I've gotta say, I'm beyond lucky to have the best in-laws anyone could ask for. Since Harry's parents were already staying at our place, we all sat down over dinner. I told them I needed to share something important. I took a deep breath before starting. My chest felt heavy just thinking about it all. Once everyone was settled, I walked them through what happened at the party, how Kayla handed me the plate of shrimp, how I passed it off to Jamie, and how it ended with him being rushed to the hospital. The looks on their faces mirrored exactly how I felt, shocked, confused, and deeply disturbed. Harry's mom and dad exchanged a glance, both clearly worried. And Harry, the moment it all sank in, his expression went from confused to furious. I explained how scared I was, not just for myself, but for our unborn baby, and that I wasn't sure if Kayla had done it on purpose. Given her track record though, I couldn't shake the thought that this might have been intentional. Harry's mom, being the level-headed one, said we needed to check the security camera footage right away. His dad agreed without hesitation, realizing how serious this was. Harry didn't say much at first. You could tell he was just trying to wrap his head around it all. We pulled up the footage from their security app, and sure enough, it showed everything. Clear as day, you could see Kayla handing me that plate. Then it showed Jamie taking it and what followed, his reaction, the chaos, the panic. There was no denying it after that. The video left no room for questions. The more the truth sank in, the heavier it got. Harry looked like he was barely holding it together, and I could see the anger rising in him. His parents were heartbroken. It was hard for them to even speak. They were shocked to see just how far their daughter had gone to stir up trouble. We all sat there stunned, trying to understand what could have made her act like this. With how serious the situation had become, my in-laws decided right then and there that the footage needed to go to the police. Since Jamie was the one who got hurt, he'd have to be the one to press charges. So Harry and his dad planned to visit him once he was doing better to talk it all through. I still feel sick to my stomach thinking about how Jamie ended up eating the plate that was meant for me. I don't know how he's going to feel when he finds out the whole truth. The guilt keeps me up at night. I haven't been eating or sleeping right since. I'll keep you posted when there's more to share. Update 3. Alright, y'all, it's been about a month, but I finally have an update. I've been trying to get through everything while also being pregnant, and it's been a lot to deal with. First thing, yes, she was arrested. Once the police reviewed the footage, my in-laws handed it over, and that was all they needed. Kayla didn't even try to deny it. She admitted everything right away and broke down crying. When Harry went to tell Jamie what had happened, Jamie was just as stunned as the rest of us. Harry made it clear, he'd always considered Jamie family, no matter what decision he made going forward. But he also told him straight up that he should press charges. What Kayla did was beyond messed up. Jamie agreed. After recovering, he not only filed charges but also filed for divorce. Then Kayla tried another trick. She called my in-laws, sobbing and begging for forgiveness. That's when she dropped a bomb. She's pregnant too. She begged them to bail her out. For the sake of her daughter. But Harry's dad told her flat out. It was time she faced the consequences of her actions. They weren't going to enable her anymore. As hard as it is on Harry's mom to see her daughter in this position, she knows there's no excusing what she did. Police found proof she had tampered with the food, likely intending to hurt me. It just ended up hurting her own husband instead. She's now facing several serious charges: attempted harm, endangering life, and food tampering. There's no telling how this will all play out from here, but one thing's clear. She crossed a line you don't come back from. After everything blew up, Kayla kept insisting this was somehow all my fault. She begged Jamie not to press charges against her, but thankfully, Jamie stood firm. He made up his mind, and he wasn't backing down. Her court hearing is coming up soon, and I don't think there's any chance she's slipping away this time. For everyone asking, my son and I are doing all right. He doesn't know anything about what his aunt did. Not yet. Harry and I agreed that at some point we'll need to sit down and tell him the truth. It's not going to be an easy conversation, but it's something he needs to hear one day, so he understands what kind of behavior to steer clear from, even when it comes from family. In the meantime, my pregnancy is being closely monitored. Following my doctor's advice, I go in for ultrasounds every 2 weeks just to make sure everything's okay. We decided not to find out the baby's gender. We want it to be a surprise. My parents have become extra protective of me lately, especially since learning what Kayla did. They've been gently pushing me to get some counseling, worried that all the stress could mess with my mental health while I'm pregnant. And honestly, I agree. Even though I try to act like everything's fine, I can't bring myself to eat anything I didn't cook myself. There's a deep-rooted fear inside me now, something I didn't ask for, but can't shake. Thankfully, Harry understands. He's been by my side, helping me through it every step of the way. Update 4. It's been 8 months since all this started, and a lot has changed. Kayla's in prison now. She was found guilty on all charges. I didn't attend her court hearings, but my in-laws kept me updated. Apparently, Kayla came clean in court. She admitted that she'd been jealous of me for years. She'd always hoped Harry would end up with one of her best friends, not some outsider. So when he started dating me, she did everything she could to make me feel unwelcome. During Harry's birthday party, when we announced the pregnancy, Kayla had planned to share her own baby news too. She'd been trying to move on after her miscarriage, and she felt like we had stolen her moment. Mixed with her pregnancy hormones and that buried resentment, she completely snapped. She told the court she put a small amount of rat poison in my food, not because she wanted to seriously hurt me, she claimed, but just to send me to the hospital. She said she never intended to harm the baby or even me, just to make a statement. And since I ended up giving that plate to Jamie, she argued that I was the one who poisoned her husband. She begged the court for a lighter sentence, saying she hadn't meant for things to go that far. The judge wasn't having it. They sentenced her, and now she'll be out of our lives for a long while. Jamie finally got the divorce finalized too, and he's free now. We've kept in touch with him, he's family to us, and we include him in everything we can. When I finally got the chance to talk to him alone, I apologized again for handing him that plate. He looked me straight in the eye and told me none of it was my fault. I broke down crying. I told him how many times I'd replayed that moment in my head, wishing I'd done something, anything, differently. He's doing a lot better now, and knowing that brings me peace. As for me and Harry, we welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world. Despite everything we've been through, her arrival brought so much light and warmth into our lives. Nate's been over the moon about having a baby sister. He's such a sweet, loving big brother, it's heart-melting to watch them together. Seeing our kids bond, laugh, and grow reminds us just how much good we have, even after all the darkness we've faced. Both my parents and Harry's parents have stood by us through it all. Their support helped guide us through this next chapter of life, and I'm forever grateful for that.